Snow White bombs, breaks records for the lowest live-action remake opening ever. Let me say that again. Ever.
Rachel Zegler just cost Disney $200 billion, and the mega corporation is coming to collect. On a recent episode of Valuetainment, host Patrick Bet-David talked in depth about Snow White. That'd be Disney's latest installment in a long list of live-action remakes that have all, miraculously, or flopped.
They've lost $200 billion the last 4 years, Vinny. $200 billion.
$100 billion
in the last 4 years.
We started off with Dumbo that was topped by Mufasa, and now we have Snow White and the 7 CGI dwarves. Yes, there's more than just one thing wrong with the movie, but the main reason why Snow White flopped and cost Disney billions was Zegler. Patrick had the stats, the comments, and the insights into what's to come next for the young actor.
I never want it to come off as me being ungrateful for the opportunities I have. I can also be having the greatest time and simultaneously wishing people would stop sending me death threats.
Mirror, mirror on the wall. Is Rachel Zegler truly done for? Patrick Bet-David pulled up the critics' score for Snow White. Disney's Snow White had a disappointing debut weekend, but anyone could have told you that. Right now, the mega corporation is hoping to recuperate some of the money it funneled into this project. To be more precise, the live-action remake of the 1937 classic had an estimated budget of around $270 million. Right now, when the movie's supposed to be making all that money, and then some, it's halted at a box office revenue of less than $100 million. Are the numbers going to go up anytime soon? Don't bet on it, according to Patrick. To further his argument, he pulled up some trusted stats on an episode of Valuetainment. There's nothing that screams, "What do the people want?" quite like IMDb. Well, over 100,000 people reviewed the movie, and the aggregate score was at 1.6.
Yeah, right there. Zoom in right there. That's it. 163,000 rating, of which it got 1.6, not out of 5. Like, sometimes you go to McDonald's, it's 1.6 out of 5.
Yeah.
1.6 out of 10.
That's not out of 5, and even if it was, that's pretty disappointing. No, that number is straight up shocking because it's out of 10. 2014's Saving Christmas currently holds the title of the single worst-rated movie in the site's history with a score of 1.3. There's still time to knock it out for the top, well, the worst spot. The real question right now is, what's so wrong about Snow White that fans believe it's borderline unwatchable? Is it really all because of Zegler's controversies? Is there some greater agenda here? And how's Disney reacting to the backlash? Okay, so we have to go back here, way back. When Disney first announced its plans to release another live-action film, fans were iffy. Live-action remakes don't necessarily have the best track record, but this was one spearheaded by Mark Platt. The man knows what he's doing, or at least that's what fans thought. It came as a surprise to everyone when Platt and director Mark Webb cast Rachel Zegler as the lead. Now, to be fair, Zegler came highly recommended after starring in Steven Spielberg's West Side Story. The girl could act, there was no doubt about it.
The amount of, if it ain't broken, don't fix it. Leave it alone. Yeah, that's it. If it ain't broke, break it. Leave these stories alone. By the way, if she never opened her mouth and she didn't do all this nonsense, people would have gone and watched the movie. They would have made their money, but then people would have been disappointed after the match.
However, this was an adaptation of a 1937 classic that was itself based on a German folktale. Was Zegler really the best candidate to play Snow White? Her casting became the talk of the town, with some people claiming that it was part of Disney's greater woke agenda, and some people arguing that it's just a movie. According to the people from Valuetainment, you're right, it is just a movie. So why not let the classics remain untampered with, and create new projects where Disney can push its activism in? An interesting fact here for all those who care, Snow White is both the youngest and the first Disney princess in the Disney Hall of Fame. To say that this was a role Disney needed to take seriously would be an understatement. Anyway, a lot of debate went around and continues to go on about Zegler's casting, whether it was an agenda or it was just a good actor being cast for the role. You be the judge of that in the comments below.
CGI instead.
There you go. So those guys didn't make it.
No.
That guy's 6'2".
So what did they replace these guys with?
You see, it'd be one thing if the color of Snow White's skin was the only controversy that came out of this movie. No, the long, long list of controversies surrounding its lead actress is only just beginning. Okay, so Rachel Zegler was one of the first cast members of the movie. It was announced way, way back in 2021. The rest of the cast, Gal Gadot, Andrew Burnap, Martin Kleba, and the many, many other members of the ensemble cast came afterward. Technically, Rachel had the longest time out of the bunch to go through her contract. To put some things into perspective here, a corporation cannot come between you and your right to freedom of speech. That wasn't what Disney was doing when they asked Rachel to take down her post on Twitter saying, "Free Palestine." And that's something that Josh Platt tried to clarify as well.
But when you come out and the freedom of speech was to condemn the very thing that you're paid to build? Are you kidding me?
By now, everyone's heard of the fact that Mark Platt actually traveled to New York to meet with Zegler and ask her to take her post down. This wasn't a threat to replace her in Snow White, but when you're under contract, you need to promote the film and meet with marketing and media heads to discuss a content strategy. Rachel had gone off script when she furthered her political cause immediately after posting a tweet promoting the movie. According to Patrick Bet-David, this was a calculated move. He believed that she knew people would be watching her social media in the run-up to the premiere of Disney's live-action remake and capitalized on the opportunity. Still, many people in Josh Platt's comment section on Instagram started calling out his dad for attempting to take away Zegler's free speech. You really want to do this? And with that, Platt went off on an epic rant where he discussed in elaborate detail that this movie was not about Rachel Zegler, and she seemed to be the only one who didn't understand that. He reminded trolls of the hundreds of people who worked on the film, and not all of them had cushy Hollywood jobs to fall back on. If Snow White doesn't make money, the people who worked on it cannot claim it and make money of their own. Again, Platt reiterated, this wasn't about Zegler.
No, he flew to New York to reprimand an employee or a contractor who was employed on the film.
He said that Mark had to fly, leaving his family behind, to do damage control after word got back that Zegler had been refusing to cooperate with Disney's media team here. Again, Mark couldn't tell her what to do or not to do, but as the producer of one of the most expensive films in Disney's history, all he wanted was a meeting with her to talk it through. Mark might have put on his PR voice, but Josh wasn't about to hold back, especially given how what everyone feared would happen actually happened. Snow White tanked. Rachel Zegler had the opportunity of a lifetime, and she blew it. So did Disney. People aren't just mad at Zegler, but they're not too happy with Bob Iger either. For one, Disney cast Zegler just to promote an agenda and cause a stir. Yes, it didn't matter what color a fictional character's skin was, but can anyone realistically say the casting wasn't to get a rise out of people?
She's talented, she's attractive, she's got skill. But there are a lot of actresses in Hollywood who bring all that to the table and are not going to absolutely sabotage your work.
So Disney had the wrong idea from the get-go, and hiring Zegler was a political move over anything else. Yes, she can act and sing. Believe it or not, her performance in the movie wasn't half bad. What was her ultimate undoing was the fact that she just couldn't become Snow White. Obviously, because she went on record several times making fun of the original? Yeah, she went from saying she'd only ever seen the movie once, and then shelved it to saying that the original featured a stalker. That stalker was the prince. Rachel's activism came much, much later. In fact, by the time her social activist posts gained traction, she'd already blown things for Disney and the hundreds of people who worked on Snow White simply by criticizing the movie every chance she could get. You'd think that her PR team would step in at any time now and do some damage control, but no. Piling on the Rachel Zegler controversy, Patrick Bet-David wondered who'd even hire an actress who hated Hollywood so much. Yep, you heard that right. Despite it being her bread and butter, there's apparently nothing Zegler hates more than her career. That's at least how Patrick sees it, because why else would you purposefully sink your own movie and then double down by claiming that you've always had a bad experience in the film industry? The experience she was talking about was while filming West Side Story when someone from the directors asked her about her heritage. This was apparently offensive to the young actor who claimed that she'd be bringing her abuelita to set from then on.
The thing that really shocks me about this story, Disney and all these media companies, they invest hundreds of millions of dollars into these projects, right? Have they ever thought about maybe like a little bit of vulnerability study, opposition research, that sort of thing before you go and hire some Zoomer who's a lunatic?
Don't you think that was a tad too dramatic? And do you think she was calling out Spielberg? In any case, Patrick Bet-David thinks Zegler shot herself in the foot here. She had the role of a lifetime that she bagged despite all the controversy, and she blew it. Do you think she blew it, or will all of this blow over? Let us know in the comments.